There are times when we sit silently with ourselves, staring at the tapestry of our lives, and an undeniable feeling creeps in. And why does it seem like life has been nothing but one toxic test after another? Why does it feel as if every step forward is met with betrayal? Every hope born is crushed under disappointment. Every connection once cherished is poisoned by deceit. If you have found yourself asking these questions, you are not alone. You are not cursed. You are not broken. You are chosen. And the life you are living, the relentless gauntlet of tests and trials, is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is a sacred alchemy, a forging in the fires of adversity so that when you rise unshakable, unstoppable, and fully sovereign.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
You see, the chosen ones are not selected because they are already strong. They are chosen because through the journey, they will become strength itself. They are chosen because they have the soul depth to endure what many would flee from, the heart capacity to love in places where hatred reigns, and the vision to see light even in the blackest of nights. And so life does not coddle them. Life does not permit them to coast in comfort. Life initiates them through a series of brutal, often bewildering tests. Each test is meticulously designed not by cruelty, but by divine intelligence, crafted to strip away every illusion, every dependency, every falsehood that could ever hold them back from their true awakening. Have you ever dared to ask yourself, what if everything toxic in your life was not there to destroy you, but to reveal you? When the betrayals come, when the friendships sour, when the family turns their back, when the world misunderstands you again and again, it is not evidence that you are failing. It is evidence that you are being refined. It is evidence that you are being taught the hardest, holiest lesson of all, how to stand in your own truth, even when no one else sees it. How to anchor into your own worth, even when the world tells you that you are worthless. How to cultivate a love for yourself so pure, so unconditional, that no external rejection can penetrate it. These are not small lessons. These are the lessons that birth legends. And so you are tested again and again, not because you are weak, but because you are destined for a strength so profound that nothing less than the fiercest fires could ever forge it. And yet, it is exhausting, isn't it? It wears on you. It erodes your trust. It tempts you to become hard, bitter, closed. It whispers insidious lies. You are cursed. You are alone. You are unlovable. But these whispers are not the voice of your soul. They are the echoes of the illusions cracking apart. They are the final death throes of the small self that must dissolve for the true self to emerge. And so I ask you now, with all the love in my being, are you willing to see your life not as a series of punishments, but as a sacred curriculum designed to awaken the invincible, radiant, sovereign being you truly are? Because if you can shift your perception, even a fraction, you will begin to see the hidden mercy in every toxic test. You will see that the betrayals taught you to trust your intuition, that the rejections taught you to validate yourself, that the losses taught you to hold loosely to the temporary and root yourself in the eternal, that the loneliness taught you to cultivate a relationship with your own soul so deep that you are never truly alone again. You will see that nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. Nothing was against you. Everything was for you. And yet, to walk this path consciously requires immense courage. It requires a willingness to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this awakening within me?" It requires a willingness to bless even the pain, to bless even the betrayal, to bless even the poison. Because you understand that it is all part of the sacred medicine of your soul's becoming. It requires a willingness to keep your heart open even when it feels safer to close it, to keep trusting even when trust has been shattered, to keep loving even when love has been weaponized against you. It requires a level of resilience that is not taught in schools, a level of faith that is not preached from pulpits, a level of inner mastery that can only be learned in the fiery crucible of lived experience. And so I ask you again, deeper now, are you willing to see yourself not as a victim of life's cruelty, but as a participant in life's highest initiation? Are you willing to see that the very things you thought were breaking you were actually building you, layer by sacred layer, into a being of such luminous power that the world will one day marvel at your existence? Because here is the hidden truth that few dare to speak. The chosen ones are tested so relentlessly because when they rise not for themselves alone. They rise for the world. They rise to become beacons, healers, leaders, way showers. They rise to break generational curses, to dismantle systems of oppression, to breathe new life into dying dreams. They rise to carry wisdom that can only be earned through lived suffering, compassion that can only be born through personal heartbreak, power that can only be trusted once it has been purified of all ego. They rise because their rising is not optional, it is essential. It is not personal, it is cosmic. And once you realize this, once you embody this, your entire relationship with your own life shifts. You stop asking for the tests to end, and you start asking for the strength to meet them. You stop longing for an easier life, and you start cultivating a stronger soul. You stop seeing yourself as a passive recipient of suffering, and you start seeing yourself as an active alchemist, transmuting every wound into wisdom, every scar into a star, and every poison into power. And you begin to truly live not from fear, not from bitterness, but from a fierce, untouchable love. A love that no betrayal can extinguish. A love that no rejection can diminish. A love that no toxicity can corrupt. A love that radiates from you like a blazing sun, illuminating paths for others still lost in the shadows of their own unhealed wounds. And so I leave you, for now, with a final question, one that only your soul can answer. Are you willing to trust that every toxic test, every brutal betrayal, every agonizing loss has been, and will always be, a sacred catalyst for the elevation of your true, eternal self? Because if you are, then nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop your rising. Not now, not ever. When you look back on your life, when you trace the long, winding path of your journey, you may notice something that at first seems cruel but is, in fact, profoundly sacred. Every time you thought you were being destroyed, you were actually being forged. Every betrayal you suffered was not a random cruelty. It was a fire designed to burn away the parts of you that were still willing to settle for less than you deserved. Every loss you endured was not a punishment. It was a sacred clearing, a necessary emptying to make space for the life and power that were meant to fill you. Every hardship that broke your heart was actually cracking open the shell that kept your true self hidden from the world. And so I ask you now, can you see the pattern? Can you see the hidden hand of grace in the very places you once cursed? It is one of the deepest paradoxes of the chosen one's path. The things we think will kill us are the very things that awaken us to life. The moments we think will end us are the very moments that initiate us into eternity. The betrayals that shatter our trust in others are the very catalysts that forge an unbreakable trust in ourselves and in the divine intelligence that governs all things. The losses that strip us bare are the very experiences that reveal our indestructible essence. The hardships that seem to drain the last drop of our strength are the very fires that ignite within us a power we never knew we possessed. And so, whether we realize it or not, we are being forged in the most sacred fire of all, the fire of becoming. But forging is not gentle. Forging is violent, brutal, relentless. It takes raw material and subjects it to heat beyond imagination, to pressure beyond endurance, to shaping blows that seem designed to break rather than build. And yet, without this process, the sword remains a lump of metal, the diamond remains a piece of coal, the soul remains dormant, undeveloped, unknown even to itself. So too with us. The pain you thought would destroy you was actually the hammer that shaped you. The fire you thought would consume you was actually the crucible that purified you. The losses you thought would leave you empty were actually the sacred spaces where your true power could finally take root and grow. And yet, it is so easy to forget this in the midst of the forging. It is so easy to see only the pain, only the loss, only the devastation. It is so easy to believe the lie that you are being punished, abandoned, forsaken. It is so easy to fall into despair, to harden your heart, to close your soul. And that is why it is so vital, so essential, to remember to truly remember that you are not being destroyed. You are being revealed. You are not being cursed. You are being crowned. You are not being broken. You are being broken open. There is a world of difference between the two. And the moment you begin to see your life through this lens, everything changes. You stop asking, "Why me?" And you start asking, "What is being born through me?" You stop cursing the fire, and you start blessing it. You stop resisting the forging, and you start cooperating with it, trusting that even when you cannot see the shape you are becoming, the divine blacksmith does. And you realize that your only task is to stay with the process, to stay soft even when the world hardens around you, to stay open even when everything in you wants to close, to stay trusting even when the path ahead is shrouded in darkness. Because the forging is not instantaneous. It is slow. It is painful. It is often invisible until suddenly, one day, you awaken to find that you are no longer who you were. You are no longer the fearful, fragile being you once thought you were. You are something else entirely strong, radiant, unbreakable. And you realize that it was never about avoiding the pain. It was about becoming someone who could transform it. It was never about escaping the fire. It was about becoming fire yourself. It was never about being protected from betrayal, loss, hardship. It was about becoming so rooted in your own truth, so anchored in your own soul, that nothing outside of you could ever shake your foundation again. And in that moment, you understand why the chosen ones are tested so relentlessly. Because they are being prepared to carry a light so fierce, so pure, so unstoppable that it can withstand anything. 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 And so I ask you now, with all the love and urgency in my heart, are you willing to trust the forging? Are you willing to bless even the blows that seem to break you, knowing that they are shaping you into something beyond your wildest dreams? Are you willing to see your scars not as evidence of your defeat, but as sacred marks of your becoming, as signs that you have walked through the fire and emerged not burned, but blazing? Because if you are, then nothing can stop you. Not betrayal, not loss, not hardship, not even death itself, because you will have become one with the eternal. You will have become one with the indestructible truth of who you really are. And from that place, you will live not as a survivor, not even as a thriver, but as a sovereign creator, a living embodiment of the divine. And you will realize that the toxic tests were never really about testing you at all. They were about revealing you to yourself. They were about stripping away everything that was not truly you, everything that was too small, too afraid, too false, so that what remained was only truth, only power, only love. And you will bow in awe, not in defeat, but in reverence. Reverence for the mystery that shaped you. Reverence for the fire that refined you. Reverence for the soul that said yes, again and again, when everything in you wanted to say no. And you will rise, and you will shine, and you will become the unbreakable chosen one you were always destined to be. There comes a moment after the endless battles, the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the relentless tests, where something inside you fundamentally shifts. It is not a loud victory, not a moment marked by applause or recognition. It is a quiet, sacred knowing, a deep, unshakable presence that settles into your bones, into your breath, into your very being. You realize that you have survived what was meant to break you. You realize that you have risen from ashes that would have buried others. You realize that you are no longer simply surviving the world, you are shaping it. You are not simply enduring life, you are embodying life. And in that realization, you are no longer the wounded one, the broken one, the victim. You are the sacred warrior, the one who has faced the fire, embraced it, and become it. And the world can feel it, even if it cannot name it. You walk differently, you speak differently, you love differently. Because you are no longer living from fear. You are living from sovereign, unstoppable truth. And yet, the path of the sacred warrior is not about domination. It is not about proving your strength. It is not about seeking revenge on those who hurt you. True power, real power, the kind of power that the chosen ones are forged to carry, is quiet. It is humble. It does not need to announce itself, because its very presence speaks louder than any words ever could. It is the power that comes from knowing who you are, beyond all doubt, beyond all circumstance. It is the power that comes from knowing that nothing external can define you, diminish you, or destroy you. It is the power that comes from having faced your own darkness and found within it an unquenchable light. And so you move through the world not as someone seeking validation, but as someone offering blessing. Not as someone desperate to be seen, but as someone who sees deeply. Not as someone needing to be loved in order to feel worthy, but as someone who loves because it is your very nature to do so. And yet, the world will continue to test you. Not in the same brutal ways as before, no, you have graduated from those lower initiations. But it will test you in subtler, more refined ways. It will test whether you can hold your peace when chaos rages around you. It will test whether you can keep your heart open when others close theirs. It will test whether you can remain rooted in your truth when the winds of opinion blow fiercely against you. It will test whether you can continue to love, to serve, to shine, even when no one acknowledges or appreciates it. And these are the final sacred tests. The tests not of survival, but of sovereignty. The tests not of endurance, but of embodiment. And every time you pass one of these tests, you deepen your mastery. You become even more untouchable, even more unstoppable, even more free. And so I ask you now, with a depth that reaches into the very marrow of your destiny, are you willing to live as the sacred warrior you were born to be? Are you willing to carry your scars not as signs of defeat, but as badges of honor? Are you willing to walk through the world with a heart so open, a soul so strong, a spirit so radiant that you transform everything you touch, simply by being who you are? Because this is what the world needs now more than ever. Not more noise, not more division, not more fear. The world needs those who have walked through the fires of their own undoing and emerged as living embodiments of love. The world needs those who have survived the toxic tests, not to retreat into bitterness, but to rise into blessing. The world needs those who have been broken to become healers, those who have been betrayed to become beacons, those who have been abandoned to become anchors of unconditional love. And you, beloved soul, you are one of these rare ones. You are one of the chosen, not because you are better than others, but because you have been willing to walk a path that few would dare to tread. You have been willing to lose everything false in order to find everything real. You have been willing to die to who you thought you were so that you could be reborn as who you truly are. And so now, the invitation is before you to live from your wholeness, to lead from your love, to serve from your sovereignty, to create from your freedom, to give from your overflow, and to remember always that you are not alone, even when it feels like you are, even when the path is steep and the nights are long. You are surrounded by unseen allies, guided by invisible hands, upheld by a current of grace so vast, so fierce, so unstoppable that nothing can separate you from your destiny. You are part of a sacred lineage of souls who have come to this earth not to escape its pain, but to transmute it. Not to flee its darkness, but to illuminate it. Not to abandon its brokenness, but to redeem it. And every time you choose love over fear, Every time you choose truth over comfort, every time you choose faith over doubt, you are fulfilling your sacred mission. You are doing what you came here to do. You are becoming what you were always meant to be. And so I ask you one final soul-deep question. Will you live as if you are already the sacred warrior you were destined to be? Will you trust that every test, every trial, every tear was not in vain, but has prepared you to carry a light so powerful that it will ripple through generations? Because if you will, then nothing can ever stop you. You will be unshakable, because you will no longer be rooted in circumstances, but in the eternal. You will be unstoppable, because you will no longer be driven by ego, but by soul. You will be untouchable, because you will no longer be defined by what happens to you, but by what lives within you. And you will walk the earth as a sacred warrior, a living testament to the truth that love is stronger than fear, that light is stronger than darkness, that the soul is stronger than anything this world can throw at it. And you will not just survive, you will soar. You will not just heal, you will heal others. You will not just rise, you will raise the world with you, because that is what chosen ones do. That is what you were born for. That is who you are. And now, it is time to live it, fully, freely, fiercely, forever. There comes a moment so subtle, so hidden under layers of exhaustion and quiet despair, that you might miss it if you are not paying attention. A moment when you realize that the tests never truly end. They merely evolve. They move from the outer battles to the inner ones, from tangible betrayals to invisible initiations of the heart. And it is in this moment, standing at the edge of your own next great becoming, that the real question arises, not when will it stop, but who am I becoming through it all? Because life, in its infinite wisdom, will never stop refining the chosen ones. Not because it is cruel, but because it knows the vastness of what you are capable of carrying, what you are capable of embodying, what you are capable of becoming. And so, even after you have survived the fires, even after you have risen from the ashes, life continues to stretch you, to deepen you, to widen your capacity for love, for truth, even for power. And yet, something is different now. You are no longer meeting these tests from the same place. You are no longer reacting as the wounded one, the desperate one, the broken one. You are meeting them from a place of deep, anchored sovereignty. You are meeting them from a place where loss no longer terrifies you, because you have discovered that nothing real can ever be lost. You are meeting them from a place where betrayal no longer shatters you, because you have built your trust not on shifting sands, but on the unmovable rock of your own soul. You are meeting them from a place where hardship no longer defines you, because you have realized that who you are is beyond any circumstance, beyond any story, beyond any temporary storm. And from this place you become untouchable, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop needing life to be easy in order for you to remain free. And so a new kind of mastery begins to unfold. A mastery that is silent, invisible, almost imperceptible to the external world. It is the mastery of responding instead of reacting, of opening instead of closing, of trusting instead of fearing, of loving instead of defending. It is the mastery of meeting every toxic test, every hidden knife, every sudden loss with a calm so deep a peace so profound, a love so fierce that it disarms the very forces that seek to unmake you. It is the mastery of seeing through the illusion of attack to the truth of unconsciousness behind it. It is the mastery of holding your center so firmly, so gently, so unwaveringly that nothing outside of you can pull you out of yourself ever again. And it is in this mastery that true freedom is born, not freedom from pain, but freedom within pain. Not freedom from challenge, but freedom within challenge. Not freedom from the world, but freedom within the world. And so I must ask you again, with even greater urgency now, are you willing to live from this place? Are you willing to embrace the tests not as enemies, but as sacred allies in your infinite unfolding? Are you willing to walk through a world still asleep in fear and division and remain awake in unity and love? Are you willing to be the lighthouse, the anchor, the bridge, even when no one thanks you, even when no one sees you, even when the storms rage on without mercy? Because this is the true calling of the chosen ones, not to escape the toxicity, not to be spared the tests, but to transmute them by the sheer force of their being, to walk into the heart of the fire and make it holy, to walk into the heart of the darkness and make it light, to walk into the heart of the heartbreak and make it love. This is not a small task. This is not a comfortable path, but it is the most sacred work a human being can undertake. And it is the work you were born to do. It is the work your soul signed up for long before you ever drew your first breath. It is the work that every toxic test has been preparing you for. And so when the next betrayal comes, and you will not crumble. You will breathe, you will bless, you will rise. When the next loss comes, and you will not despair. You will grieve, yes, deeply and fully, but you will also trust. You will know that every ending is a portal to a greater beginning. When the next hardship comes, and you will not resist. You will surrender with a warrior's grace, knowing that every pressure is shaping you into even greater radiance. And in this way, you will live not as a victim of life's storms, but as their master. Not by controlling them, but by transcending them from within. And you will find, to your infinite amazement, that life itself begins to change around you. Not because the world suddenly becomes kinder, though sometimes it will. Not because the tests suddenly stop, though sometimes they will. But because you have changed. Because your vibration, your presence, your very way of being has become so rooted in truth, so saturated with love, so aligned with the infinite that even the toxic energies that once sought to destroy you can no longer find a place to land. You have become a new being, living in a new world, even as you walk in the old one. You have become the sacred warrior, the living temple, the unbreakable light. And so I leave you, once again, with the question that only you can answer: will you step fully, fearlessly, fiercely into this next level of your becoming? Will you walk forward, not hoping for an easier life, but knowing you are now the one who makes life easier for others simply by existing? Will you trust, even now, even here, even when the next test arises, that you are already everything you need to be, not because you are perfect, but because you are real, because you are love, because you are free? Because if you will, beloved soul, then the trials will no longer be trials. They will be triumphs in disguise. The tests will no longer be threats. They will be thresholds into ever greater glory. And your life, your very breath, your very being, will become the living proof that nothing, no betrayal, no loss, no hardship, no darkness can overcome a soul that has chosen to stand in the eternal light of its own infinite truth. And you will rise again and again and again, not because you must, but because it is who you are, because it is who you have always been, because it is who you will always be, forever. There is a mystery so profound, so quiet, that most people will live their entire lives without ever touching it, the mystery that after you have survived, after you have risen, after you have become the sacred warrior, you no longer just walk through the world, you shape it. You no longer just react to reality, you begin to rewrite it. Not through force, not through effort, not even through intention in the way the mind understands it, but through the sheer frequency of your being, through the silent, invisible, unstoppable radiation of your soul's truth. And this is where the journey of the chosen ones takes its most magnificent turn, where you realize that the tests were never about survival alone. They were about preparing you to become a living portal through which new possibilities, new timelines, new worlds can be born. You see, reality is not as fixed as it seems. It is fluid, alive, responsive. It is a dream that responds to the dreamer. And when you were small, when you were wounded, when you were trapped in fear and survival, your energy was scattered, chaotic, reactive. Your reality reflected that betrayal, loss, toxicity, hardship. Not as a punishment, but as a mirror, as a call, as a sacred echo of your own fragmented vibration. But now that you have reclaimed yourself, now that you have remembered your wholeness, now that you have anchored into the truth of your infinite nature, your energy has changed. It has become coherent, radiant, potent. It has become a tuning fork vibrating at a frequency so pure that reality itself cannot help but reorganize around it. You no longer have to fight for your place. You no longer have to chase love, chase success, chase freedom. You become the source. You become the sun around which lesser realities must orbit. You become the magnet that draws to you not what you want, but what you are. And so the toxic people, the toxic patterns, the toxic cycles that once clung to you like shadows begin to fall away, not because you resisted them, but because you outgrew them. You exceeded their frequency. You transcended their reach. And without any need for anger, without any need for defense, you simply move beyond them, like a star moving beyond the darkness of a collapsing world. And yet, this power is not something you wield with arrogance. It is something you carry with awe, with reverence, with humility. Because you understand now that you are not the source of this light. You are its steward. You are its channel. You are its living temple. And so you move through the world with a fierce tenderness, a sovereign compassion, a silent authority that needs no validation, no permission, no recognition. You bless with your presence. You heal with your being. You liberate with your love. And people feel it, even if they cannot explain it. They are drawn to you, not because you are trying to impress them, but because your energy whispers to something ancient and sacred within them, a memory of home, a memory of truth, a memory of who they are beneath all their forgetting. And so your life becomes something extraordinary. Ordinary moments become holy. Simple conversations become transformational. Passing interactions become catalysts. Not because you are trying to do anything, but because you are being everything. You are no longer a wave tossed by external storms. You are the ocean itself. You are no longer a candle flickering against the wind. You are the sun rising with unstoppable majesty. You are no longer the seeker. You are the answer pouring itself out into the world in every breath, every glance, every silent prayer. And yet, even in this, there are deeper layers to unfold. Because the greater your light, the subtler the tests. The grander your energy, the more refined the temptations to misuse it, to fall into pride, or to seek superiority, to believe you are above others. And so life, in its infinite tenderness, will continue to test your heart, not to harm you, but to keep you pure, to keep you true, to keep you empty enough to be filled with grace, humble enough to be entrusted with miracles, surrendered enough to be moved by love beyond your own understanding. And this is the final, eternal dance, the dance of power and humility, sovereignty and surrender, mastery and mystery. And so I ask you now, as you stand at the threshold of this next great unfolding, are you willing to let your life become a living prayer? Are you willing to let your energy do the work, silently, invisibly, without the need for recognition or reward? Are you willing to trust that simply by being who you are fully, fearlessly, fiercely, you are already shifting worlds, healing wounds, rewriting futures far beyond what the mind can comprehend? Because if you are, then you are no longer just surviving reality. You are dreaming it anew. You are composing symphonies of light in a world that has forgotten its song. You are sowing seeds of freedom in soil that once seemed barren. You are calling forth a future so luminous, so liberated, so alive that even the stars will pause to marvel at what you have dared to create by the simple act of being true. And so you walk forward, not as a warrior against the darkness, but as the living dawn itself. You walk forward, not seeking to change the world, but knowing that by changing yourself, you have already changed everything. You walk forward, heart open, hands open, soul open, knowing that you need nothing, and from that space of needing nothing, you can give everything. You walk forward, beloved chosen one, radiant and real, a silent rewriting of reality in every step. And you rise, and you shine, and you become again, and again, and again, forever.